In this video, we're going to take a look at how to update WordPress. We're also going to take a look at how to update WordPress when it doesn't go quite right. And lastly, we're going to look at how to update your plugins. Now, before we get started, I want to point out that before you do any updates, you should make a backup of your site, or do it on a staging server. Both of those topics have been covered in other videos in this series, and there's also an entire series on backups. So if you need some help with that, I suggest you go take a look at those videos before we get too deep into this. The page we're looking at here is on the WordPress Codex, and it is documentation about updating WordPress. And they have some good common tips here, like backing up WordPress. But right here is automatic background updates, and that's something I want to talk about. WordPress has major versions, major releases, and that's usually two numbers separated by a dot. So in their example, they have 3.7. 3.7 is a major release, but 3.71 and 3.72 are minor releases. Minor releases will update themselves. WordPress will simply recognize that there is an update, go get the new version, bring it in, and install it for you. You don't need to know anything about it. Your site should email you when that's done. It's possible to turn this off if you really need it, but I don't recommend it. So what we're mostly going to be talking about is updating major releases, when there's a brand new version of WordPress out and you need to update that. This is a site that I just installed, running version 4.3.6. Now the latest version is 4.6.1, so we're quite out of date here. Now just a few minutes after I installed it, I opened the site again in another tab, and right at the top it tells me WordPress 4.6.1 is available, please update now. WordPress is pretty sharp about letting you know when there's a new version. Now this one did not update automatically, even though this is a point release, because I'm going from 4.3.6 to 4.6.1. That's across major versions, so it won't do it for me. So now that I've made my backup, I'm going to click Update Now. And that brings me to the general WordPress updates page. Here's one more reminder to make backups. And then right here, I can either update now or simply download 4.6.1 to my local computer. I'm going to click Update Now. Here you can see that it's downloading the new version. Unpacking, verifying, updating the database, and here we are, done. There was no time taken out of that in editing. What you saw was a real-time update. That's how long it took. It's very, very quick. When you update a major version, there's always a welcome page, which lists what's new, usually a short video, and then there are credits, and then there's some information about freedoms. That's really all there is to updating a major version. But what happens if things go a little south, or if your host has automatic updates turned off, or something like that? There are a couple of things you can do. I want to bring us back to the Codex page, and I want to come down here to the Failed Updates section, because this is important. On more than one occasion, I have had an update tell me that it failed when it did not. And the reason it thought it did is because it couldn't delete the .maintenance file. While your site is updating, it creates a file called .maintenance, and there's nothing in it, it's just there. But what it tells WordPress is that it's currently working and it shouldn't try to do other things. Almost always, after a failed update, simply removing that file will allow you to move on with the update. Let's take a look at what it looks like if it exists. Here's my WordPress install for that site we were just looking at, and I'm going to create a file right in there. So now I've created a file called .maintenance with this in it. Now normally, instead of the time function, it would have the timestamp of when this file was created. But since I'm testing, I just put in this time function, which means it was created right now. Then, when I load the page, it says briefly unavailable for scheduled maintenance. Check back in a minute. So if you do an update, and it says that it finished, but you still get this, then you should look for a .maintenance file right here and simply delete it. Then your page should load normally. Now there's one more cool thing you can do with WordPress that I want to point out because I've had to do it more than once. This is my WordPress install. If you download WordPress from the website, open the zip file and copy everything inside and just dump it in this folder, it will overwrite all of the important WordPress files with new copies. But, this is important, it will not hurt your content. It won't go into WP content and delete your files or anything like that. So the advantage, the reason you would do this, is if some of your WordPress files got corrupted or hacked and you don't know which ones, and you just want to overwrite all of them. You can safely unpack a copy of WordPress and dump it into your folder, and it will give you the latest version of all the files. And that's pretty slick. That's the poor man's way of updating. Obviously, pressing the button is much, much easier. This was my original screenshot, which I haven't reloaded since doing the update. So now I just reload. And now it says I'm running 4.6.1. Now the last thing I want to look at is how to update plugins and themes. You can go to the same updates page, and you can see here are some plugins to update, and here are some themes to update. Now you could go directly to the plugins page, and it would show you all of these. And you can go directly to the themes page, and it will show you there are updates, and you can update them one at a time. But if you go to the updates page, here under the dashboard, you can bulk update. So I'm simply going to update plugins. And there we are. All of our plugins are updated. And there are links here at the bottom to return to the plugins page or to the WordPress updates page. And now we can update our themes. And there we are. WordPress is updated, plugins are updated, and themes are updated, and everything is up to date. With WordPress core, you can reinstall if you need to, which is similar to what I mentioned before of just dumping an install over top of your other one. This works also. Or you can simply download 4.6.1 again if you need to. So let's summarize our video real quick. First, make good backups. If you don't, someday you will be very sad. Second, minor point releases update themselves. So when 4.6.2 comes out, it's just going to update itself, and I won't have to worry about it. Thirdly, major point releases do not update themselves, and you'll need to do your backup, or do it on a staging server, and click the button to update. Plugins and themes can be easily updated via the updates page. Do your backups, and simply press the button.